Are we on? Are we on? Welcome to Basketball Heads Live. I am your host, Glenn Poole Harding. And oh boy, tonight we have a very special guest. Now listen, before we start the show and I start my intro, let me just give you a little preview of what we're going to be doing on Basketball Heads. Once a month, I will bring a guest that probably doesn't live in New York City, but made their bones on the playgrounds, maybe the college or university levels, or even in the NBA arena. So, with that said, let's start the show. This basketball head was born in the town of Wyandanch, Long Island, home to hip-hop god MC Rakim, before his family moved out to New Jersey. He played his high school ball at Clifford J. Scott High School, where he was first team All-Orange, first team All-Essex County. And then he accepted a scholarship to play for the United States Military Academy at West Point. At West Point, he became an All-MAAC Conference Freshman of the Year. He was also the Metropolitan Area Freshman of the Year. He made the Basketball News All-Freshman team. Who know about the Basketball News back then? If you know about the Basketball News, Eastern Magazine, or Street and Smith, you knew you was plugged in to the real. This basketball head scored over 1,000 points before he transferred to Iona University, where he again earned first team All-Metropolitan Area honors. After this basketball head graduated Iona University, he began to play in the USBL for the Westchester Stallions and Connecticut Skyhawks. He also played for the world-famous and legendary Harlem Globetrotters. He then played for that legendary PrimeTime squad that ran the pro division in every tournament during the 90s. Damn, we almost beat them in West 4th. But with that team, man, they were stacked. So we came up short. He coached at Hunter College during their Elite 8 run with Coach Mike Brown. Nowadays, this basketball head is coaching at North Plainfield High School in North Plainfield, New Jersey. So, without further ado, help me welcome to the show, Clifford J. Scott Great, United States Military Academy at West Point and Iona University legend, my guy, Derrick. Basic Instinct. Canada.
Y'all ready? Yeah. You have just stepped out into the world of chaos, where everybody goes hard. Come on. Go hard. Go home. Never back down. You gotta hold your own. Go hard. East Coast, go hard. West Coast, go hard. Midwest, go hard. Dirty. Hurry up, everybody, get online, buy your tickets, cause the game about to start.
What's up, King? What's happening?
What's going on, bro? How you?
I'm doing well. Slide over just a little bit so
Yep.
you send it in this camera a little bit.
Man,
There you go.
That
There you
intro's
go.
serious right there. I like that, man. That's awesome.
Listen, man, you know we had to make it right, man. Listen, it was great running to you at the Rucker, man. You
Yes,
and
sir.
your sons, man, and y'all, you know, you just sharing that experience with them, the New York City tournaments, man. So that was definitely love and a beautiful thing, man. So blessings.
Appreciate that, man. There's nothing like being in an environment with New York City basketball. Like, you can go to tournaments anywhere else, but there is nothing like that New York City basketball experience. And I wanted them to get a little feel for it. You know, they're beginners, and they're still learning. But just to be in that environment is like a whole nother level for them. So they had a good time.
Oh, listen, I know they did because their daddy was making sure they had a good time, man. Like you were so proud of your boys, man. And look, we as black men, you know what I'm saying? Like I cherish my family. I don't have kids of my own. I raised my sister kids, so
Okay.
they're like mine. But to see, you know, black men, you know, just with his kids and enjoying the moment, man. That's the beautiful thing about life in itself.
Yeah, that's what it's about. You know, like when I look back, my dad passed away when I was tiny. So I was like
Respect.
2 years old when he passed away. Basketball legend in his own right. Through high school, that's why I wanted to make sure we mentioned Wyandanch because he was out there with the Warriors. But there were so many men, and commending you, that there were so many men in my life that stood in the gap for when my dad couldn't be. There was always a man to correct, to instruct, to add to. And so, you know, my goal has been, and that's one of the reasons why I coach, my goal has been and always will be to give back because so many people gave back to me.
Same here, brother, man. This is what we do at Basketball Heads, man. So, you know, I want to jump right into this, man. And it's probably an obvious, you know, question for everyone who just heard you spoke so, you know, great about your dad. But who introduced you to the game?
It's interesting because so I knew my dad played.
Got
right?
you.
And so as a child coming up, I had all this stuff. I got all these trophies in the house, got all these plaques, got these newspaper articles, and that was my introduction. So we lived in New Jersey. I was in East Orange. I started out with football. Moved to Newark.
Yo, hold on. Time out.
Go ahead.
We gonna blow a tech. Yo, this is the earliest tech I've ever blown in the game. Yo, let me tell you. Yo, bro. I get so excited when I hear about guys who play basketball at a high level, but started out playing another sport, right? Mm-hmm. Because a lot of kids, they just play one sport. Right. Before you get into that part, what position you played and how early did you play football?
So I started playing football, street football, probably around 6 or 7. First team I played for, I think I was in 7th grade. Wound up playing at the Oval Park in East Orange, played for a team called the Broncos. Played wide receiver, got the hands ready. They was always ready.
Right.
You know, had quick feet, and I just loved to play it. Like, that was the thing when we were coming up is it didn't matter what the season was. There was something to play, and there was always somebody playing it. So I could be in the parking lot, somebody walk up with a football, we balling in the parking lot. We going to the park, we on the street, pole to pole, all that. Like, we didn't have to go to the park to play football. We could just play anywhere. So yeah, wow. I was good. I always tell people I was better at football than I was at basketball. Like, I was a really good football player at a young age. And then I make the joke because, you know, back in the day, when we got to October, November, it wasn't 70 degrees outside.
Nah, not at all. Right.
I was like, nah, I'm good. So I retired from the sport because, you know, I would make the other joke that it's 70 degrees in the gym all year long.
That's right.
All year round, it's 70 degrees. If it's hot outside, the gym is 70. If it's snow on the ground, the gym is 70. I'm good.
Cool. So who was the people who kind of walked you through the process? Because, you know, as a youngster myself, my cousin Cortez Jackson, he played for Madison High School. He wound up going to Colorado. But I was so amazed by his trophies. I never saw him play. You know, it's way before my time. But his trophies and the fact that he has so many and he has so many articles, those are things that kind of drove me to say, you know, I want one of those.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and that was the thing. So for me playing football, so I was naturally gifted. Like, there was a gift. Like, the first time I went to a school in East Orange called Stockton, one of my buddies, who also wound up as a Division I athlete, you know, he brought me into the group. First day we were on the playground, somebody throws a ball, I intercept it with one hand, and I take it all the way back the other way. And they're like, what? you play football? I was like, I was just playing soccer a couple weeks ago in the neighborhood I lived in because it was mostly Spanish kids in the other neighborhood. Nobody was playing football or basketball. So that was where my football stuff started. And then they were all advanced in basketball. And I tell my wife this all the time. If you want your children to play sports, don't push them into anything. They will find a sport to play because they will do what their friends do.
Mm.
And so all my friends were playing basketball, and I was like, I got to play. All I could do was run and catch. And so, I started playing. First team I played for was probably 6th grade, Fellowship Civic Center. I had some guys on my team that were well above me. I was one of those guys that came off the bench late. But I had a great coach by the name of Danny Hall. Took the time to help me work and develop. All my teammates were great because, we all from the same neighborhood. And East Orange at the time was heavy on rec. So while it's not a huge city, there was the Civic Center and pretty much every school in the city, and there's about 8 elementary schools in the city, had a team. So we could play all within the city and get a full schedule of games in. Same thing with football because every park had a football team, so we never had to leave the city of East Orange to get great competition and get better.
Right.
So for me, that's where it all started. Playgrounds and then the Civic Center.
So how was life for you growing up in East Orange coming from Wyandanch? Like what was the differences in the shift?
Well, if you've ever been to Wyandanch, and I still get there every now and then, my grandmother and my aunts used to live out there. So no sidewalks till you get to straight path. Right? That's the main thoroughfare. Everything's on straight path. So you walk in the street. So it seemed more country, even though it was only about 40 miles from the house.
Right.
So spent my summers there. You mentioned Rakim. I got to run into him one time, because my brother, I have a half brother who stays out there, and my half brother's pretty cool with him. So I ran into him in the park shooting hoops one time. But that was it. It had more of a country feel then because, you could go to the package store, get some ice. If you want a little alcohol, you can get that. You walk to the stationery. All that stuff was there, but everything was in walking distance, small town feel. East Orange wasn't much different. Everything was in walking distance. Corner stores, I could hit, on a good day, if I'm looking to play, I could hit 3 or 4 parks, and that's within like a mile and a half, 2 miles. So needless to say, I was in good shape because I would run park to park looking for games.
Yeah, I had a couple of buddies, and actually my ex-girlfriend all went to Clifford J. Scott. That was I went to Philly Dickinson, so that move for them was pretty cool. And salute to my guy Wendell Brenton, ex-teammate, friend for life, brother for life. We just reconnected. Now listen, I was watching this guy for like a week on YouTube. Especially with all this Kyrie Irving stuff going on. Didn't recognize him. I'm watching him the whole week. I'm like, let me subscribe to his show,
Right.
So something today just said, go to his Instagram. Go to his Instagram. I scroll down. And I was like, oh, my former teammate.
There you
so
go.
I hit him up, told him to call me back, and that's what I was doing right before we started the show, man. So salute to my guy, Wendell, man. Keep doing your thing. You can find him at Del K. Brenton. I hope I'm saying it right because we know him as Bremerton, but I think it's Brayton, right? It's DELLKBRERETON. You can find him on YouTube. Great insight, man. Great insight on everything that's going on, and smart brother, man. So back to you, man. Back to you. Yeah, for sure. I know he's gonna be watching this show sooner or later, so I want to definitely give him that shout out. Who are some of the guys that you came up watching in Jersey that kind of inspired you and wanted you to, get to that next level?
So the funny thing is this, is because I was a football player those years, my main focus was on football. So we had some serious players come through before me, but I didn't really get to the high school because I was either in the park playing basketball or in the park playing football. So, there were guys who were a couple years older than me that schooled me in basketball. My man, Tony Rogers, we called him Keita. Dwayne Jones, we called him Halim. My man, Jamal Williamson, nicknamed Peanut. Those are the cats I came up with first as it related to basketball. And they were like my contemporaries or a year or two older, but they were so far ahead of where I was that it always gave me something to chase. Right? Because I try not to be as competitive as I was, but I am fairly competitive. Like I don't like to lose at anything. And so I'm chasing them the entire time. And that is really how I developed into the player I became, is there was always somebody for me to chase. Like that was my deal. If we're gonna be on the playground and Pooh's 10 times better than me, by the end of the summer, I need Pooh to only be 5 times better than me. And at some point, I need to be able to catch him so that we see an eye to eye. And if Pooh falls off his game just a little bit, I'm gonna try to sneak by him. Because that's how you earn respect, right? You go to the park, it's one court in the park. You roll in, it's 15 dudes there. Do you want to wait for the next after the next? Or you want to be the first dude they pick when you walk in the park?
We talk about that all the time, right? And that was our rites of passage, right?
Sir.
You had to earn to get on the court. Then you had to learn how to stay on the court.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the next level, right? That's the next level to be able to get picked as soon as you walk in the park.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the elite level. Whether you win or lose, you still was going to play because somebody's going to pick you up.
Yeah. You got people on the side, man. He just finished playing. I don't care. I picked him.
That's right.
That's my guy. I picked him up.
That's right. and people want to win. So I don't think young guys go through that process as much now, right? There's a whole big difference. A lot of them quit early. If they lose, they probably just gonna go home and finish up their debt.
So I explained it to my son because I hoop still a little bit, but I also do some video gaming. I only play Madden, just Madden. That's
got you.
And so I play him in Madden all the time. And I told him, and this explains what you were just talking about. I said, son, there's a difference, but you don't get the difference yet. He's like, well, what's the difference? I said, I hate to lose. You like to win. He was like, that's the same thing, Dad. I said, no, it's not. Because when you're winning, you're all good. But when you lose, you want to walk away. When I lose, I want to see you again and again and again until I win. That's the difference. Like I'm not good settling with a loss. It bothers me.
Man, that makes a lot of sense. Hope you young guys, when you watch this, hope you're paying attention to these lessons, because it's not only going to make you a great basketball player if you keep at it, but it'll make you a great person because you always trying to get better with yourself.
Absolutely.
So
that's what I tell them all. It's about setting a standard, setting a level, and then you chase after it and you go get it. But like the easiest thing you can do in anything is quit. Like it don't take no intestinal fortitude to quit. Like, he beat me, so I'm just not going to do it anymore. What? You're not going to do it anymore?
Right.
You're just going to walk away. So now every time he see you, you're going to turn the other way because you don't want to do it no more? Come on, man. Who wants to live like that?
You gotta want the smoke. You have to want it. You gotta, because that's gonna make you into a better player, right? You gotta want that smoke and that competition.
Yeah, that's what it's always been about, is competing, and you might not always win, but you take lessons from everything you do. Everything you do. So why didn't I win that time? All right, this is why I might not have won that time, but can I do something different? Or can I try something different the next time and maybe that'll work? And if that doesn't work, I'm going to try something different again and maybe that'll work.
Yeah.
And that's how we get through life.
Who was that, once you got to that level in basketball, when that became your full focus, who was the guy you was chasing? Like, who was the guy everyone was chasing to be like?
All right, so I'm gonna take you back a little bit.
Okay.
My favorite college player when I was in high school was a New Yorker. They called him the Truth. Left box, turn around, left hand jump shots. Walter Berry. And so in high school, I literally spent an entire summer working on my left hand drop step to the baseline jump shot because of Walter Berry. And so I chased him for a little while just because he was player of the year. He was at St. John's. He was always on Saturdays. Him, Chris Mullen, Willie Glass, all those guys. And so, that was the first level for me as to where I could potentially go. Ultimately, it all starts and ends with the doctor, right?
Look, I just had this conversation. Well, it was more of a text conversation with my guy. Salute to my guy Tucson from All Ball Podcast, who does a great job. He put up a post today that had like all these greats. It was like the greatest player pyramid. I had Mike on top, and he said, I have a problem with Steph Curry being so low. He should be in the place of Dr. J or KD. So I said, I didn't want to blow him up where everybody can see the comments, even though I know he don't care. But I said, listen, when KD and Steph get another KD or Steph, see, Dr. J had Mike, right?
Yeah.
Dr. J birthed Mike.
Yes.
So
and
Dominique. Right, and Dominique, right? And so many other players. But when we talk about the guy who was on the top of the pyramid, that was the guy. So until you're able to birth someone like that, then you can't be replaced.
Yeah.
You can't be replaced.
Yeah, Doc's always, people always scrutinize him. He may not have been a great basketball player, but he totally revolutionized the game.
Yes.
Totally, and you got to give him his love for that. Like they weren't doing it that way. That's the start of sports and entertainment for me.
Oh, for me as well. Listen, even though I love Steph, and we got a billion people on the planet trying to be Steph Curry, but no one has got to that level.
No.
So until we get another one of those, holla at me, Tucson. Go check out my guy, All Ball Podcast, on Instagram, All Ball 1977. That's my guy. Tell him I sent you.
That's good stuff right there too. Yeah, you got to give Doc love. So yeah, I would literally be in my room, coat hanger on the door. I was a goofy kid. I'm not gonna front. I would have the coat hanger on the door because we single mom. We really ain't have money for Nerf hoops and all that. I'd ask, but we weren't getting them. So I got a hanger. I bowed a hanger into a circle. Then we had the fat shoelaces back in the day, right?
Facts.
I made those into a net. Roll up some socks, and I'm hooping in my room.
That's being very creative. Like I think today's kid, and it's not to keep knocking down on the kids, but I'm giving you ideas as I'm saying this, right? Mm-hmm. You got to be creative. You have to use your imagination. You have to be able to dream inside here to kind of foresee what you want to do in real life, in real time.
Yeah.
And those things ran throughout the households of America. That hanger rim on the back of the front of the door with the balled up sock.
Yep, all day. All day. I'm both teams. I'm scoring and rebounding on both sides. Right. Look, I got so crazy. I'm keeping stats. I went from Dr. J to my man Bernard King with the taped up fingers, dropping 40.
Right.
50 back-to-back nights.
And your fingers not even hurt. You just
and they're not even hurt. They just taped up because Bernard King did it. But those were the folks that you started with. Like I had some college folks. Like I said, he was the truth. Like to see him with that smooth lefty turnaround, literally all summer working on that. Dr. J, Bernard King, these were all before Mike. Mike. Yeah, but Mike hit when I got to high school.
But you coming from the Jersey, even though your blood flows in New York, I just think that was just always a connection with you. And as I was talking to my guy, you know, he's like, yo, you having Derrick Canada tonight. He not from New York. I was like, yo, bro, he was born in Long Island, but he made his bones and everything he did was over here.
Yeah.
Right. So we gotta show him love. And he did it at a high level. So if you ain't playing against him or get your ass cracked by him or trying to stop him, you wasn't really outside, right? Playing ball in New York City during the 90s. So
yeah, and the funny thing is this is I played so much in New York that my jersey catch was like, D, how come you always there? Why are you not playing with us?
Right.
This is where I'm at. I mean, there was nothing but love there. I mean, I went to the military academy. That's in New York State, upstate New York. I played there for a while. I played in the Empire State games. Hudson Valley. Yeah, I played Empire State.
Oh, yes, this is while you was in college.
While I'm in college.
Gotcha. Yeah. Facts.
Yep.
Yes.
So actually, this was in between. So, and the fun story for me there was, I played with a team that you wouldn't think would have won, but the team we beat was full of New York City college all-stars.
Tell me this team.
All right. So, Red Autry was the point guard. Mm-hmm. Brian Reese was playing. Jamal Phillips was at Rutgers at the time. He was playing. Lamont Middleton, Mitch Foster, Conrad McCray. That was the New York City team.
Yo, D, I played Empire State 5 years. I played Empire State 5 years, and it got gold all 5 years.
Yeah, we got gold.
From high school, it was after my era, right? It was 5 years. 1 year, I played high school, and then the other 4 years I played open. But man, that's a great accomplishment because all of those guys, New York City legends, right? You talking about you naming those names? Yes,
they could play. So what they didn't account for was my backcourt partner, a young gentleman by the name, and he's from Pearl River, New York.
I don't know who you're about to say. Go ahead.
It's Kevin Houston.
Facts.
Led the nation in scoring. So it's me and him in the backcourt.
He was the first Jimmer Fredette.
Oh, no doubt.
But even better, right?
No doubt. And you would have never assumed it. He's the most unassuming, unathletic-looking player, but he's as smart as they come, and he knows exactly what he's doing and how he wants to do it, and it gets you every time. He was my grad assistant my first year at the Point.
Wow.
He was my grad assistant. So it was me and him. God bless my man Jonathan Duck was with us.
Jonathan Duck, yes, rest in peace. Yes,
absolutely. Yes. And then a dude from Marist named Isette Buchanan. And then our center was an undersized center that was at West Point. I wasn't at West Point at the time. Undersized center named Dave Ardafio. He was probably a legit 6'6", but he was ripped. And so the first time we played him, it was a pretty close game. The second time we played him, there was no stopping Kev. Like he might not have gone for 40, but he probably went for 20 and 15. And so the second game, I was like, man, and that's when I realized that basketball isn't always about the name so much as it is about the execution of what you're trying to do. Like it's all about dictating your will versus the other player's will. And if you can get them to do what you need them to do, you win. If they get you to do what they need you to do, they win. And it just came down to that. And on that day we were better.
Or as New York City legend Pete Edwards would say, his slogan for the ISA basketball tournament, bring your game, not your name. Fact.
I love Pete. Pete's my guy. My guy. I never got to. I wasn't fortunate enough to see him play, but Pete was my guy. We would go out to ISA all the time and play out in that tournament, just laugh and talk about. Everybody was like, "Oh, you should have seen Pete play," and talked about how mad he was. And
listen, it was two names I remember Pete because I used to watch him coming up. Right, they used to call him Secret Weapon and then Bob Hope. Right. Those are two names he would fluctuate between, right? But Secret Weapon for sure, and his battles with the late great New York City legend and New York City point guard, Pearl Washington.
Yeah.
So Pete, also his I forgot his back, Kurt Sumter. That was his backcourt partner.
Okay.
Him and Kurt Sumter ran the city for about a good five years, winning every basketball tournament in the pro division. So they were just shutting. Kurt Sumter put up the points, and Pete shut everybody down. Whoever was the guy, he shut them down.
Yeah,
so,
that's what I'm talking about right there.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. But yeah, that was my first introduction to New York City basketball. Technically, it wasn't, but I'll call that my first, because we at West Point we were in the MAAC, the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference.
Yes.
So we played Iona.
Well, we gonna get there. We're gonna get there. I want to talk
Manhattan.
about but we gonna get to there. We're gonna get to there. I just want to go back to Clifford J. Scott and your transition there as a ball player, right? Did you come in as a freshman playing right away, or did you have to go the JV route? Walk me through that whole process.
So as a freshman, I played freshman ball. I was decent. Also made the JV team. As a sophomore, I was coach saw fit to put me on varsity. Had a great coach, Greg Tynes, legend at Seton Hall. I think he's right now the 4th all-time leading scorer there. But he was, he put together a program and we won. All we did was win. And so as a sophomore, I'm looking at these juniors and seniors, and we're playing state tournaments and all these other things. And one thing that stuck out to me, and it's one of the reasons I appreciated them so much. I think my second semester report card as a sophomore, who's not getting much run, actually not really getting any run. I'm not going to front. I think I got 5 A's and a B. And so when I talked to him about my grades, he was like, you know what? We got a game tonight. Let me know when you want to play. And I'm like, yeah, okay, coach. Whatever you say, man. And so we get through the game, and I mean, we ran through our conference pretty handily most years. And so there's a point early in the fourth quarter where he comes down and he gets in that coach's stance right in front of me. He's like, so do you want to play? And I'm like, you were serious? He's like, yeah, I was serious. Do you want to play? And he put me in. And those were my first varsity minutes. I didn't see the floor much after that, but that was a good experience for me, because it was, as a man, he made a promise and he kept his word. And he put me in the game, and yeah, the game was pretty much over, but it was like, I'm waiting on you. You're not waiting for me to put you in. I'm waiting on you to tell me that you're ready. And after that, I was ready. So wow. I give a lot of kudos to Coach. He's the one who pushed me. I still remember we worked out, because he tried out for the Celtics. And after he didn't make the Celtics, for whatever reasons he didn't make the Celtics, he got into coaching. So when I had him, he was still a pro-level talent. And so he would play with us and literally toy with us sometime in practice. But I remember doing some one-on-ones once and just talking. And he's like, I don't know if you're a Division I kind of athlete, D. And for me at that point, I really wasn't that concerned about that. I was like, I'm just going to try, keep working, doing some stuff. And then we got to a point one time where, I take off, he jumps, we bump, and I still finish the play. And he's like, you know what? I might be wrong. If you do some work, you might get there. And so I kept working after that. In my junior year, we went 20-5. We lost the state championship game down at the RAC, the Rutgers Athletic Center. We played one of the teams down in South Jersey. The name is escaping me right. Ewing. We played Ewing. They had a guy, Tom Savage, who wound up going down to Virginia before coming home to Rutgers. But it was one of those things where we got all the way there, and we didn't feel like we got a fair shake. And talking to Coach years later, it was like, yeah, the other coach was retiring, so it might not have been a good look for him to lose a state championship game. Now, that's just the politics of the sport. I don't know if that was how it played out, but we were as good a team as we faced that night. And so kind of went back and forth. I think we had like 4 of our 5 starters foul out. including me. But I fouled out in style, though. Went down the lane. Dude stepped up to take a charge just above the dotted line. Knee hit his chest, took me a little bit higher, and went out on an offensive foul dunk from just about the foul line.
Crazy. And that was your junior year?
That was my junior year. My senior year came back. We went 21-3, and we learned the importance of making free throws. Right. So my final game was against Shabazz.
Yes.
So Shabazz had Anthony Avent, who wound up in the league. I think Eric Williams might have been a freshman at that point. So he was there. They had a few other guys that could play, but we had beaten them. They had 2 6'9s. Our starting front court was 6'6" and 5'10". My man Tom Purcell played fullback for the football team. Toughest power forward you ever want to meet. Marquise Bragg was our center. Wound up at Providence.
Marquise Bragg, yeah, I remember him. Yep.
Division I talent, 6'6", 6'7"-ish. But they had 2 6'9s. Small forward was probably 6'5". But we get in the game. We lost by 4, I think, 3 or 4. But we shot like 6 for 25 from the line. Still haunts me to this day. Like, you can't shoot that poorly from the foul line and ever expect to win. And we were in the game. But that was my last high school game. Lost to Shabazz at Cranford High School in the sectional finals for the state.
Man,
I think we finished ranked in the top 15 in the state, but it didn't mean anything because we didn't play the last game.
What was your recruiting process like after that?
So this is why I coach, because kids don't understand. I didn't have a ton of offers. Like, there was one Division II school that was looking at me, just one. I play hard every day, but there was one school looking at me. The coaches at West Point heard about me, and they decided to come in and give me a look. And so I have a basketball article that says it, and I tell this to kids all the time. So the article states, the coach states that I walk in the gym, I see him chase down somebody who's trying to get a layup, block the shot, grab the rebound, pitch it ahead, and then tip in a missed shot on the other end. And his statement is, I could have left right then if I hadn't just bought popcorn. But he did more things in a few seconds than I could have possibly hoped. And my message to kids is always, like, you never know who's walking in the gym and when. My story is this. What he missed was me turn the ball over right before he walked in the gym. And I'm competitive, and my coach don't really like that. And so how do you stay on the court when you make a mistake? Effort play, I get back, I block the shot. Had he walked in a little earlier, he would have seen the turnover, but he didn't see it. So timing is everything. So from that became my one offer, just one. And I took it. As soon as the military academy showed up, that Division II school went away. I never heard from them again. And I wound up at West Point. And it's fun because I had great coaches there. But I tell kids that you always have to make sure you listen to the coaches, because the coaches will tell you, and they're it's great marketing, but they'll tell you, yeah, you're the only guard I'm recruiting. What they don't tell you is there's 4 other coaches out recruiting guards.
That's right.
So they're telling you the truth. They're absolutely telling you the truth. You are the only guard that they're recruiting, but the rest of the staff is recruiting guards too. So for me, once they became involved, I took out the program because they gave me one on the visit, and I'm like, oh, let's see, Kevin Houston's averaging 30. He graduated. Ron Steptoe, senior captain, was averaging about 8. He graduated. This guy graduated. This guy graduated. This guy. So they were bringing back about 6 players. And of the 6 players they were bringing back, only 2 had really played, and those 2 played spot minutes. And so as I looked at it, I was like, I have a real chance here. If I go in and work, I got a chance to play. And then I showed up, and there was Joe Harris who transferred in from the Midwest, Chad Michelson, they had recruited the year before, was at the prep school. Those guys could shoot lights out. Like, they were annoying. They shot so well. I'm like, really? Really? You just gonna catch and shoot before I can get there?
Right.
My guy Kevin Berry, who was also at the prep school, he came 6'4" swingman, jumps out the gym. And then there was Larry Ganewick, who's another friend of mine. He's a point guard from Wisconsin. So I'm looking at all these guys. I'm like, oh, well, this isn't quite what I was sold on, but it's basketball, right? And so our era was a little different in that. If I show up and all these dudes are in the gym, am I even considering going somewhere else because all these dudes are in the gym? Nah. They got the same chance I got, and whoever does the best job gets that spot in those minutes. And so from day one, it was, I accept the challenge. We get after it. I wound up starting as a freshman. I tell kids this all the time. I started every game of my college career except for one. There was only one game I didn't start, and that was because we wound up getting suspended for a curfew violation. Wasn't anything crazy or major, but it was a curfew violation, and that was my one non-start. But I averaged 15, 5, and 5 as a senior in high school. I averaged 14, 4, and 4 as a freshman in college. And that was the year Mark Macon was killing.
Oh yeah, he was. Ooh.
He was killing.
He was doing unheard of numbers, right?
Yeah,
during that time, right?
He was working, and but he was on a great team with great senior leaders, and he filled in the void that they needed to fill. But when I look at that list, I talked about that top. I was in the top 25 of the freshmen, but there are folks like Rodney Monroe, who was honorable mention. My man Haas Duncombe, God bless Haas. I know he passed away recently.
Yes,
he was on the list.
Yes.
There was Rick Fox was on the list. All these are honorable mention dudes, and I'm on the list of 25, along with my man Eddie Bird, Larry Bird's little brother.
Right. yes.
But that was my process. I tell kids that I didn't play AAU. I was laughing with a couple of my buddies about that as well because I didn't understand how fortunate I was because I thought I was pretty good, but everybody was on the circuit, and back then New Jersey every town didn't have an AAU team.
I know the Roadrunners were big out in New Jersey. Yeah,
we had the Newark Y that had a team, and when you look at the Newark Y, there were probably 5 or 6 pros from my era. So Ala Abdul Nabi wound up at Duke.
Yeah.
And Avant was on that team. Eric Murdoch was on that team. Mark Brown, who was up at Siena, was on that team. My man Earl Flanagan, who wound up at Hofstra, was on that team. And that's just a group of 5. There were more, but that was really the northern New Jersey section. And then I think there was one other team down in Trenton, but that was it. Like we didn't have AAU outlets where you could go everywhere and play if you weren't.
No, it wasn't that many back then. Not like it is today.
No.
First of all, I want to give a shout out to Raphael Farley. Thanks for being on the check-in. Frank Bronner, Gerald Thomas, says teammate of yours, right?
Dancing Doogie.
That's right. Yo, bro, I understand, brother, but I'm glad you're on the check-in, dudes. And I always forget that his name is Gerald Thomas, right? That's dancing, right? All right. And James Majors on the check-in for sure. For sure. That's a great ball player.
We'll have to get to the point. I don't even remember when I found out his first name was Gerald. I knew him as Doogie for like ever.
Me too.
I think it was Facebook.
and right. And he said it one time in here as well. He was like, no, tell him it's Dancing Doogie when I had another guest on the show. He's always on the check-in. Salute, dude.
That's my guy.
Sure. So, and we talking about offers, right? Mm-hmm. Because my guy John Arnold is always sending me pictures of kids who have offers. Mm-hmm. So there's a kid, not gonna mention his name. He put up a picture that he had an offer from Townsend State or from Townsend University.
Okay.
But he's going to George Washington as a walk-on. So let me tell you what's going on in New York City. because there's so many AAU programs, there's so much competition for kids that a lot of the programs are calling up favors for guys to offer kids, right? So parents are like, what are you going to offer my kid, right? And they're getting these fake offers.
Right.
And when I'm telling you, every 2 days, my guy's sending me another picture of a kid who got another offer. Now, I don't want to knock the kids, but it's just an interest, right?
Yeah.
I had my guy, Brian Nash. He's the basketball director for IMG Academy.
Okay.
You already know what that's about.
That's big time.
That's big time. So he's like, Glenn, I see them all, right? I'm talking to college scouts, pro agents every day. He said, these offers are meaningless because I tell my kids the reality of the process.
Yeah.
He said, but if they're really interested, when the coaches offer you, hit them back and ask them, can they sign the letter of intent today?
Right.
Do they want you now?
Right.
So when he sent me the text today saying, yo, G, this kid is going to George Washington as a priority walk-on, whatever they call it, a PWO. I don't know, there's some new language that they have now. I think it makes your process, my process, and a lot of other people's process just worthwhile because at least we was taught the reality of things early.
Yeah.
Listen, for all those people who didn't offer you, I guarantee you with a ton of colleges after they saw you play or you played against them said, damn, how do I miss that?
Oh, look, I'll have another funny story in a few minutes.
No, go ahead. You go.
So I played my freshman year, had a great year, played my sophomore year, and was going through those growing pains. So I think I wound up averaging just over 14. So I added an extra point to my average, but we weren't necessarily winning. But I was getting better. Between my sophomore and junior year, that summer was my year of work. Like I figured out what worked for me, right? So my teammates in the weight room, because at West Point we only really had, and this was a disadvantage that I talk about with my guys all the time. Everybody else has all this gym time that they can use. If you're not in class, you can get to the gym, you can do all this stuff. We literally had like 2.5 hours, 5 days a week, where we could be in the gym doing basketball stuff because all the other stuff took precedence. So we had, I think my first semester I had 22 credit hours of work to do. We had military stuff to do. We had military history to do. And so you're cramming all that in. And so basketball literally became a sanctuary for me. But in that limited time, what can you do to get better? And so we started off and we were spending about an hour 15, maybe an hour and a half in the weight room, which would give us an hour to play after. And then we had to get on the bus to get back down to dinner. I'm like, I can't do that because I'm not getting any better. So what I did is I changed my coach's workout a little bit. I did 45 minutes worth of weights. So in the 45 minutes that I was done in, my teammates would still be working out. By the time they got in the gym, I was lathered up and ready to go because I had spent 45 minutes working out the effects of the weight room on my jump shot and on my layup and on all the things that I needed basketball-wise. So to start my junior year, I think through my first 6 games, I was probably in the top 10 in the nation in scoring. And I wound up backing it down just because of some internal team friction. But like at that point, I was like, I can get a bucket whenever I want. I'm either going to outrun you to the spot to get the ball, or I'm going to jump higher than you. I'm going to do something, and I'm going to make this game easier for me. So I wound up being all tournament at Richmond. We played in the Richmond tournament. Fun basketball story for you. My man. Did you lose me? Oh, there we go.
Yep.
So when we played Maryland. Maryland was in that tournament. South Carolina was in that tournament. Richmond was in the tournament. So, of course, who do we open up with? Because we the West Point. We open up with Richmond. we the weakest team. But South Carolina beats Maryland. So our second game is Maryland. Maryland's starting five was basically an NBA starting five. I can't. The point guard, starting point guard, I think was a guy named Tion McCoy. He was like 6'3". My assignment at the 2, Walt Williams.
Ooh.
The wizard.
6'8", right there, right? All of it.
Their three was Gerard Mustaf.
Mm.
They had Derrick Lewis and I think Tony Massenberg. I think that was their 5. They were bigger than an NBA team. And we went out there and I was like, this doesn't make sense. I'm 6'1"-ish, trying to guard the wizard. And, I held my own, but we didn't win. And 2 weeks later, we were down at the Virginia tournament. Interestingly enough, we didn't open up with Virginia. Played Marshall. I think I had a quick 30 in that game. Second game, we played Northeastern. Had another 30. So I think I started the year averaging just about 27, 28 points a game. Because I was in the rhythm and I had figured out what I needed to do for myself, which is what a lot of kids don't necessarily do nowadays. You got to figure out what works for you, what works for your body. Like I could spend an hour and a half in the gym lifting weights, but it didn't make sense for me. I didn't have that much time in the gym. And so that junior year I was good, had an issue, wound up leaving during my junior year, which caused me to transition into Iona. But that was also at the point where I had my introduction to New York, my full introduction to New York City basketball.
Yeah, I wanted to ask that because after a 1,000+ career, most guys are like, I'm gonna finish up strong and try to make it to the league or whatever, and make my presence felt on the nation. But you decided to leave.
Well, I got, and I'm being transparent. I had a little scandal. So there was we have what's called an honor code at West Point. And they found me to be in violation. The honor code was simply a cadet will not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate those who do. I had an assignment that I was doing. I got help on the assignment. I thought I had documented it properly, right? So I turned it in with the documentation on it. The professor is like, oh, this, that, and the other. And there were 2 papers that were alike, and we're looking at yours. And so he said I cheated. The board came back. It was a big thing. I think it was on SportsCenter for a minute. But the board came back and said, well, we're not going to say he cheated. We'll say that he lied about the amount of help that he got.
Wow.
And so it was one of those things where I still have some of my teammates that are really upset about it, some of my old classmates that were really upset about it. But at the end of the day, it was probably something that needed to happen for me because it changed my path a bit. It took me somewhere where I wasn't really expecting to go, because at the academy, there is no NBA after the academy. Like David Robinson is an anomaly.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy who went to the academy at 6'1" and was going to work on submarines and grew to 7'1", and you can't fit a 7'1" guy on a sub. So yeah, he can get out of his 5-year commitment
because you got to serve after that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, got you.
And so I would have had a 5-year commitment after. We were still doing 5 then. So yeah, my whole goal was just to make it through. It challenged me emotionally, educationally, mentally, physically, but it was a really great experience for me because it changed who I was as a person. Like there was a whole nother level of work that I realized I had to do, and I realized that I hadn't gotten. Like when people say that they don't feel like they're academically prepared for college, try to go from a school district, and I love my school district, but we had already been taken over by the state, right? That only happens to certain districts. And then go to a military academy where you're going to get 22 hours your first semester, 21 your second, and you don't really have time to figure out exactly what's going on because you're class. And so for me, it was really challenging. I was struggling at that point anyway, academically. And so they made the decision, and I was like, all right, not really happy about it. My mom's still not happy about it to this day. Like I said, my buddies at the point were still not happy about it. I finally reconnected with some of them a few years ago. They were like, oh, I was like, no, it's all good. It worked out so that I could chase some dreams that I wanted to chase, and still have an opportunity to have people understand that I am not just a basketball player.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Have you ever heard of James Westchester?
You broke up. Say that again for me.
Have you ever heard of James Westchester Smith?
The name doesn't sound familiar. Doesn't sound familiar.
Okay, good. Hold on. Let me get out of here real quick. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. James Webster Smith. He was the first black person, especially man during that time, to be admitted to West Point.
Okay.
He never graduated because they created a scandal, right? To get him out. Yeah. Right? Did all the things the right way. And somehow they created this scandal to get him court-martialed or thrown out the school. And I won't go into all the history. But when you said that, it made me go back to then, because I definitely remember that gentleman and his history and time at West Point.
Yeah, that would have been like Jackie Robinson.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I got a bunch of friends, that were there while I was there that have already graduated, and they give back to the school, and they're constantly looking to affect change as it relates to diversity and inclusion at the academies, making sure they keep an eye on things that are going on and use their voices when necessary, when things don't appear to be going well or when they're a little bit off. So, I have a really cool network of folks that I get to hang out with, really smart guys. I listen to them. I might not comment all the time, but I'm always watching what they're doing. A few of them made it. One of them, good friend of mine, also from Long Island, he made it all the way up to general.
Nice.
He's a one-star general, just retired recently. But those are the folks that you kind of keep an eye on, because those are the ones that are attempting to affect change from different positions. But they still talk about that stuff. They talk about the Confederate stuff that still sits at the university. They talk about some of the plaques that we may have never noticed that have basically Confederate art that we just weren't privy to. But now we get to go back, we get to do the history and look at it and see, and we're like, this is a school that's in New York. This isn't down south.
Right.
This is not the Citadel. This is upstate, and it's good to see that they get in there and they get their hands dirty and they're like, yeah, this isn't gonna fly. You're gonna have to change that stuff. Because I think it's important. I think it's important that we look at all that stuff as we go through. And that's my only comment toward the Kyrie situation is his last little speech that he gave at ESPN when they were questioning him, trying to get the apology, was probably one of the best pieces of conversation for somebody making a plea to treat us as equals that we've heard in a long time.
And it's so crazy, right? Now that we're on this subject, all of those brothers who made comments about Kyrie, mm-hmm. I guarantee you none of them never watched the film.
No.
And it's so crazy how we jump ship so soon without even knowing that the film been out for a long time. It's been out, it didn't just come out. Right? The book's been out as well. And if you doing your due diligence, just, as a black man, as a black person, you will know about some of these things. And not saying you're supposed to know about everything.
Right.
But these are things that I think we should have just in our libraries, or even watching the film to kind of figure out why we here, how do we get here, right? And what process that, you know, we had to go through to get to this point. And with Kyrie, you know, even before this point, I would tell people, if you want to get an idea of who this guy is, if you never met him, just scroll down his Instagram page. Just scroll down and you will see what kind of person he is, right? It could be all a lie. We know social media, right? But you can get an idea, right? This guy who prays before the game. He's got sage and he's going to the court. Like, if that just can't be an act, right? And I've interviewed and talked to a lot of guys who played in the league and know how controlled it is. So for them to have Kyrie, who has an influence on the youth, which is scary, and is an anomaly compared to all the other guys that's in the league. You know, when stuff like this come up, that proves he was right with the jab, and they got to give him his back pay, and this is his last year. Plus, with people following him and having influence, let's shake it up for him.
I just think that, you know, we do need to do our due diligence, right? Like, I haven't watched the movie, but I have several friends who watched recently and provided some insightful details on it. And so at that point, you can decide where you are on it. But if you haven't seen it, you don't know what it's about, you're going off the word of someone else. It's like playing the game telephone, right? Somebody tells you something at the start, it winds up being something totally different at the end. And if you don't go to the person who started it, you never have the truth. So for me, it was like, all right, I'm gonna see what some of my insightful friends are saying about it. At some point, I'm probably gonna check it out. But at the end of the day, you know, I have an idea of what the agenda was, and I understand why folks felt the way they do just because of the title. And I just think we need to go ahead and watch and see what's being talked about before we make blanket statements about an individual and their character.
Yeah, because, you know, I've been around the block for a minute, and I'm saying to myself, wow, so went from Indians to niggas to colored to black to African American. Who the hell are we?
Yeah.
And all those names came from other people. It's not like we named ourselves.
Nope. It's a wild existence. But again, you know, that's one of the other reasons why I gravitated toward basketball, because I knew that was going to be an opportunity for me to change some things. Like, if I don't play basketball, I don't go to college.
Same here.
And if I do go to college, I'm still paying college loans right now because it just wasn't going to happen for me. So, you know, I used it as a means to an end. And as I got a little closer to each end, I was like, well, maybe it means a little bit more. And so in high school, I just wanted to go to college. But as I got through college, it was like, well, how long can I play? So when I transitioned from West Point, I didn't have an offer. And so I left there, and it was during the season. So it was right around March.
You didn't have when you decided to leave, no one?
I only had a year left. I only had 1 year left of eligibility.
Oh, so that's the chance. That's the chance. It's not like this nowadays when these schools will take a senior right now, right? Like, you'll be like a prize pick for someone right now.
Yeah, so I had a fun rumor, and this gets back to the story I wanted to tell you earlier. I had a fun rumor that Coach K was looking for me. But again, I only had 1 year, and the rumor was fun because Coach K is a West Point grad. And so if anybody from our program is going to be looking for me, it would be Coach K, right? But as a 1 year senior, there wasn't going to be an opportunity. So I come home, I go see my old coach, Greg Tynes. He's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to call the coach down at Rutgers and see if they might be interested. And I'm like, all right, cool, coach. Appreciate that. And that's just the kind of dude he was. He's still one of my favorite guys to this day. So he calls. We don't get a response for a few weeks. And he's like, D, have you heard from him? I'm like, I haven't heard anything, coach. Nothing. Nobody's called. So he calls him back, and the coach is like, well, he's not a 7-footer. And I was like, oh, wow. Wow. Really? Wow. And so that again creates a little bit more drive, a little bit more intensity. I wound up being fortunate enough that one of my old coaches from West Point wound up at Iona. And one of the guys I was going to church with, his cousin was the head coach. So they gave me a call. They said, hey, you want to come in? I went and visited Iona. I went and visited LaSalle. LaSalle was a nice visit because, Speedy Morris is down there.
Yeah.
So we played in the conference together. Had a great Randy Wood story. So I go down, hanging out with the team. Randy's like, so, you looking at any other schools? I'm like, yeah, I'm probably going to go check out Iona, maybe one or two others. He's like, yeah, that'd probably be good to go somewhere where you're going to play right away. I was like, what? Mental note, Randy Woods.
That's right. I need to see you.
Yeah, but he was a great player.
Yes.
And he was coming off they were coming off of NCAA runs.
Lionel Simmons was there as well.
Lionel, Doug Overton, Randy played the 2. They had Jack Hurd. They were like the Golden State Warriors back in 90, 91, because they would just shoot threes.
Yeah.
They had 4. Tim Legler was there. They had guys that just let it go, and they could make shots. They were the class of our conference at the time. Lionel went lottery. I think he went around number 11 to the Kings. Doug didn't go lottery, but journeyman NBA point guard, great player, played in the league for like 15 years. And Randy was the number 3 overall pick, I believe. So, and Tim Legler wound up winning the 3-point shooting contest.
That's right.
And they were all at the same school, all together, in the MAAC conference, not in the Big East, in the MAAC conference.
Tough place to play. What was the difference between West Point and Iona once you got to Iona?
School was a lot easier.
Oh, West Point did prepare you for that, right?
Oh yeah, it did prepare me for that. So I was when I transferred in, I was on academic probation because, again, I struggled at the point. I was taking 15 hours to start. Everybody was like, oh, that's a heavy load. I'm like, no. They're like, dude, that's a lot of credits. I'm like, I was just doing 21. 15 is not a lot. And so I was off academic probation after the first semester. I think I had 5 A's and a B.
Wow.
All my professors loved me. I mean, but I had always been a good student, but I was never really trained or taught how to study and prepare for stuff like we had to prepare at West Point. And so being able to pick up some of those lessons helped me at Iona. So I spent my first year there as a redshirt. Got to know the city, had some great players. Sean Green, he's my favorite player to tell stories about. The most ridiculous athlete I've ever met. Oh my goodness,
it's ridiculous, and it will fool you. It will fool you because it seemed like he's going up slow, but then he finished real fast and quick. Yeah. And you'd be like, "What just happened?"
Yeah, how did we get up here?
Right.
But he was there, Sean Worthy. God bless Sean. He passed away some years ago in a motorcycle accident. But again, Jersey guy. He went to Linden High School. We used to battle Linden a lot. So there were just guys there that could play. Duck was there. Kevin Cooper from New Rochelle, he was there. Had my guy from Grady, Antoine Lewis, that transferred in. Yep. He was there. So we had some decent talent there. But it was always fun for me because I would always be on the scout team. And so I never had a bad game against Iona.
Because you was the guy that was like, we have to stop him. You was the guy for right.
Yeah, I'd never had a bad game against Iona. It was always right around 20. And Iona was the one school that we always played pretty solid with. Like there were some schools in the conference that it was like, man, we could never catch a break. But Iona was always there. So coach would put me on the scout team. We would destroy the starters, and then he would sit me, and the first squad would always catch up and win. Because my competitive nature was that, Sean Green was, like I said, the most ridiculous athlete I've ever met. But I wasn't afraid of him as an athlete. Like I respected him because he could do some things that I had only imagined to be able to do. And he was 6'5", and he weighed about 215 pounds. And he's the only dude in all of my practice time that I never beaten a sprint. Never. And I hated losing. I could never catch that dude. He was faster than I was. He jumped higher. He was slightly stronger. But he, it was one of those things where you still accept that challenge. And so he always appreciated the fact that, and he even said it once, coach asked, do you know why Derrick is here? And he raised his hand. He was like, to make me better. And I was like, dude, that's for real. Because all I'm going to do in practice is work. If you're going to beat me in practice, the guy who's guarding you is probably going to be at the same level I'm at. So if you can beat me, then you can probably beat the other guy too. And so
a legit
that first
pro,
year,
which Sean Green was. Yeah.
Oh, love that dude. He was quiet. Nickname was Rise. He would do some stuff in practice, and I'd be like, oh, that really doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That does not make sense. I would purposely force him left, right? I'm forcing you left because you're a righty. That means you're going to bring the ball back to me. This dude would jump sideways and backward with the ball on his left hip. And then after he was away from me, he would bring it up and shoot it. And I'm like, that, coach, what am I supposed to do with that? But that was the kind of talent he was. He's the dude who made me change my whole jump shot. He would come back during the summers. So he got drafted by the Pacers.
Yeah.
So he bring George McLeod back. Guy who graduated, was playing professionally in France, would come back too, a guy named Pat Peroni. So we would do 2-on-2 in the summertime in the gym, right? Sean would guard me. I would lift the shoot. I would get to my arc. He would still be on the ground. As I let the ball go, he would jump up, wave his arm, and block my shot. What am I supposed to do? Like, I don't jump as high as he jumps. Obviously, I don't jump as quick as he jumps. How in the world is this dude blocking my shot, and what do I need to do to fix it? And so it took a minute, but I fixed it. And
what did you do? What did you do?
My release is quicker.
Got you.
Right? I can get it to a point now, like I laugh at all the kids because they're like, Coach, I block your shot. You never block my shot. Well, how are you going to say that? Because nobody jumps higher than the ball. What are you talking about? Go ahead, jump. The ball's already going to be out of my hands, and it's going to be higher than you before you hit your highest point. And so I got that from Sean because I was tired of getting my shot blocked. Like if you're going to jump with me and block my shot, that's one thing. But if you're going to wait on the ground for me to jump and get ready to release the ball before you leave the ground, I got to make some changes.
Yeah, that's a problem. That's definitely a problem. When did you hit your stride going into your senior year, or was it immediately?
Oh no. So that spot from my junior year that I was talking about, all that carried me. So my junior year, again, I was up around 27. Came down. I finished the year at about 15, just going through some stuff. But when I got to my senior year of college, we had a new coach, Jerry Welsh. Great coach, Hall of Fame coach, Division III, coached at Potsdam State. Came in, great ideas. His goal was to have 5 guys averaging double figures and being a pretty good team. We were decent, but he didn't understand at that point that there were, even though it's Division I, and he had coached at Division III, and he had coached Division I talent at the Division III level, there are still levels in the division as far as it relates to being able to score, your efficiency, et cetera. So it took him. So I led the team in scoring my senior year. And the secret to me leading the team in scoring pretty much every year I played was because also in those years I led the team in steals. So for me, it was all about easy buckets, getting out and running, finishing as best I could when I got to the rim. And so coming in, I worked on my three-point shooting. I was a better shooter my senior year than I had been the previous years. But he was in a, because his system was his system. I still remember there was a practice. You know, you get to practice, the ball swings, you're moving, you're in your groove. They find me at the top of the key. There's nobody within 3-4 feet of me. It's going up. Knock it down. Derrick, we don't want that shot right there. We don't necessarily need that shot right there. And I was like, oh, okay, coach. I was open. He's like, yeah, we can get that shot later. All right. We swing the ball again, swing around. I get it. Knock that thing down again. That's not the shot we need right there. And I was like, coach, it's an open shot. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And so we were able to talk about it. And then I figured out the fact was a real simple thing. I'm going to just be quiet and play. I don't have to agree with everything my coach says. I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to play. And we're going to see how it turns out. So they didn't run any plays for me my senior year. I averaged right around 18 and a half, almost 19 points a game. We got to the game before our tournament, our conference tournament, and he gets us in the room and he's like, fellas, I was just looking at the numbers. He said, Harry Hart, who was our big guy, he's our center, he's shooting 67% from the field. Derrick is shooting 57% from the field. I think we need to get both of them more shots. And I was like, hey, it's all good. But I played in a way that if you call a play for me, great. If you don't call a play for me, I can still find ways to get buckets. If it's playing defense, if it's rebounding, if it's grabbing loose balls, whatever it is, and I tell this to some of the kids I coach too, whatever it is, I'm not selfish, but I am greedy. And not everybody knows the difference between selfish and greedy.
Right.
Selfish is, I'm keeping this and I'm taking this shot no matter what. Greedy is, Pooh's going for the loose ball, DC's going for the loose ball. Both of them are greedy. Only one of them is going to get it. The greediest one's going to get it. And if I get to it first, I get to make a layup. If he gets to it first, he gets to make a layup. I'm going to just make sure I get to the ball first.
Makes sense.
And so I've always been a greedy kind of guy. Like I'm not trying to stop anybody else from having what they need to have. But if it's me and the other guy, and it's just me and the other guy, and it just comes down to whoever gets there first is going to get it, I'm getting there first.
What game kind of sticks out to you the most during that senior year that you just felt like you couldn't do no wrong?
The game I couldn't do no wrong and we lost, we got destroyed. It was bad, but I couldn't miss a shot. Like we played LaSalle. Randy's already on the NBA radar. They jumped on us. It was bad to start. But again, I'm competitive, so I'm like, I'm not going out like that. And so that was my career high. I scored 38. We lost by like 25. Wasn't even close. The game that sticks out to me the most is my last game. Because, you get to that last game, you get to the end of a career, and I'm like, man, I'm going to break down. I'm thinking I'm going to have the ugly face cry, tears running down my face. We played Manhattan in the semifinals of the conference tournament. We go back and forth. We lost by 1. Bashkim Mustafa, you might know Bashkim. He was on the team then. He hits a late 3 to put us down 1, but we lost by 1. I finished the game. I think I had 32, 8, and like 6 assists. But I missed a free throw late, which annoyed me. I think I finished the game like 8 for 11 from the line, which is right around my average. But it was one of those things. But the horn sounds. I dropped to my knees, and I'm like, I'm not gonna cry, because I realized that I had given everything. Like when you've given everything, it's hard to be really upset. to the point where you're crying over it. Like when you don't give everything and you know you haven't given everything, oh yeah, them tears are gonna flow. But for me, I was like, this was the best I could play. They had the better team this night. And so I was like, man. So I got up off the floor. I dapped everybody up. I wished them luck. I went in the locker room. I was like, oh, I guess it's over. And that was it. But that was probably one of the more complete games I played. And I love watching that game because the announcer said something, and he'd been announcing my games all year, annoying me. But he said something. He was like, you know, the Gales have taken 200 more free throws than their opponents, which is crazy. And then he goes, and Derrick has taken about 200 free throws.
Wow.
And I was like, because that's the way I played. Like from the time I got into the conference throughout, I'm attacking you. My first time through the conference as a freshman, all the big guys tried to jump with me. I'm strong enough to take a hit and finish a play. My second time through the conference, all the big guys took charges because instead of them picking up a foul, I pick up a foul. But my way to play was always attack the basket. If you can jump higher than me, you better be able to stay in the air longer, and you better be as strong as me because I'm coming to you. And once I get contact, I'm going to finish. Like I'm not playing to just get a foul. I'm playing to finish. And if I can hold it together and finish, then even the more. So, but yeah, my senior year, I shot right around 80% from the line and shot just over 200 free throws.
Wow. So now you finished up. Walk me through the process of, you know, what happens after you graduated and what did you do as a result of you finishing in school?
So I got drafted in the USBL by the team down in Lakewood. Lakewood's like an hour from my house. I went down, you know, I worked out a couple times, but it just wasn't working for me. And at this point, I've gotten a little bit ingrained into the system. So the part I miss is as I'm transitioning from West Point to Iona, I need to work because, you know, you can't be a grown man and not have a job living at home with your mom. So my uncle, who's Jeffrey Canada, run the Harlem Children's Zone in New York. At this time.
Didn't know that.
Yep, that's my uncle, my father's brother. So at this time, you know, I call him up. I'm like, hey, I need to do something. And he's running a program for Reedland, which is an after-school program. And it's at, I believe it's IS 108. So it's on 108th in Columbus. So my first trip into the city, I have no idea what I'm doing. I jump on the one. I don't know if I'm uptown or downtown. I jump on the wrong train. The numbers are getting smaller. I'm like, I don't think I'm supposed to be going this way. And because I hadn't been there, I didn't know that I could get down to like, I think it's 23rd Street and walk across and over.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I went to 16th Street, walked up, paid the toll again, jumped back on and ride back uptown. But I made that my daily thing because he would have me after school program working in the gym. So my first New York City tournament action, because I'm his nephew and I'm working in the gym, he was like, you know what? We should make a house team and run a tournament right here.
Smart.
Yeah, Dominican guy named Papo who could play.
Papo, I know Papo.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of Papos. This Papo was
okay
up in Harlem. Not
was it
Papo's
Puerto Rico?
All-Stars.
Okay, Papo, got you.
This Dominican Papo.
Okay, got you.
Could shoot it, good handle, all that. So me and Papo on the team, we're playing the dudes. So Tone Greer, who else is there? Kurt's there, Eric, that all hung in that Harlem group. So we're playing them, and they're coming in, they're checking on me. Richie Parker's in the area at the time because it's right there, Manhattan Center. So they would all come, and we would all just play. And that was my first tournament action. The next summer, Papo enters us in the Ray Diaz Round Ball Classic, which is up in Harlem. It's actually down right around 110th Street in the park, over by Goat Park. So we do that, and that was my first introduction into the actual tournament circuit. At the same time, as I'm starting at Iona, Alex Middleton, who he is the true guy that really introduced me. He's like, D, we got a pro-am team. I know you're getting ready for your first year. Because I'm an Iona grad, I think you should play with us. So the backcourt for me there was Vesh Reed, who was a garbage man, but gave me great information and could shoot the ball. And Gene Smith.
Yes. No
Love
doubt.
Gene
My
Smith.
God. My God.
Gene,
Yep.
love Gene
Georgetown
Smith.
legend.
Hoya
McKinley High
Paranoia.
great. That's right.
And so I did that, and that introduced, and that was when it was at City College. So that introduced me to the pro-am circuit. And I'm playing with Papo. We're doing Ray Diaz. He took me up to, I think it was like 168th and Broadway, where I was introduced to Term and Meatloaf. I'm like, Meatloaf? I ain't losing no game
all the best names.
Meatloaf.
Right.
And they were both the truth. And then after that, I wound up mostly pro-amming it. But as I transitioned from college to my pro life, that first year with the Jersey team, I just didn't play. Like I wasn't getting to Lakewood. Lakewood wasn't an easy trip for me. It's a full hour, and I'm not driving, which is another reason why I love New York, right? Because I can get to where I need to go.
That's right.
And so the first year I didn't play very much at all. And then I think I wound up getting a gig with the Globetrotters because a friend of mine invited me. And that's what other thing that I love for people to understand, that you don't do any of this by yourself. Like if somebody's not vouching for you, speaking for you in a position to give you a hand up, you may never get there. So Marvin Walters, who also passed away, so God bless him too, played against him at Fairfield in the MAAC. So as I'm finishing up, I remember turning in my last paper. It was our first nor'easter, that first superstorm shut the whole city down.
Mm-hmm.
I had to get to Iona from New Jersey to turn my last paper in so I would graduate. He calls me. He's like, D, got an opportunity for you. Would you be interested in, like the Globetrotters want to go competitive? I think you're a competitive guy. I think you would enjoy this. He invites me out, so I get the Globetrotters at that same time. So I do the Globetrotters, short stint for the Globetrotters. I come back, and thank you for sending me that video because I forgot about a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, because I was going to say, Elma sent me the video of you guys playing in the USBL.
The second year was with the Stallions, and that was
Got you.
That was like, I didn't appreciate it at the time, but that was such a learning experience for me because as good as I thought I was, I didn't know what a pro was. Like for me, because I'm competitive and I'm always chasing, I don't understand it. So like I looked at Elmer as a target most of the time. Like, I'm coming to get you. I'm coming to get you. Elmer's not looking at me. Elmer's looking at the league. He's like, I'm trying to get a workout with the Sixers. I'm trying to get a workout with these guys. And I'm like, nah, I got to get you. I got to get you. But it was him. And this is how you learn. It was him and Steve Burt at one point.
Yes.
Right. So they're my backcourt partners. At a certain point, and I believe it was Steve. Steve goes to Julius Allen. Shout out to Coach Jules.
Yes.
Love that dude.
Another friend of the show.
Yeah, I didn't understand it at the time, but I understand by and by. So Steve goes to Jules and says, hey, why don't we just start Derrick? And so I'm like, oh, cool. Works for me. Do you know what starting Derrick meant? That meant Derrick played the first 6 to 7 minutes of the first half and the first 6 to 7 minutes of the second half and didn't see the floor again.
Whoa.
Are you really happy with starting? Is that your goal, just to be a starter?
It's about who finishes, not who starts, right?
But that's when I learned that lesson. I'm like, yo, I'm starting. All right. Coach, am I going to play some more? Nah, you good right there. You good right there. But being around those two and Coach helped me understand that it's not just about what you think is right. Because I remember Elmer missed a game. He was going through whatever he was going through. He decided not to show up, and I still remember it because it was my favorite game. We played the Long Island Surf. Term was on the surf. I think Steve might have been on the surf. No, Steve wasn't on the surf. Steve was with us, but at the time he wasn't playing. I think Junie was on the surf. He wasn't playing at the point because he was brand new out of college, so rookies don't get a lot of love. But they had a team. My man Strick was on the surf. Strick was playing with the surf. Mitch Foster was playing with the surf.
Yep.
All those cats are on the surf. And they beat us every time.
Wow.
Every time, yeah. And so the one time we beat them, Elmer didn't show up. I finished with 27, 9, and 8. And we won. and it was a home and home. So the next night, I'm like, that spot is mine. Elmer shows up. I ain't played the whole first half. And I'm looking down the bench like, yo, did I not just? That's not what it's about at this point. Like, the game is the game. And then there's the game that's inside the game.
That's right.
And Elmer had earned the right to play. Regardless of how he was acting in the moment, he's trying to make a move. And it was the coach's job to make sure that he put Elmer in the best light to make that move. And I would want my coach to do that for me too. I'm just the dude that's trying to steal somebody's minutes at this point. I think I can do it. And so I learned that mental toughness is important. I learned that, it's not always what it seems. Like, you might think that you're playing great, but you're really not playing great. And that's what the video you sent shows me. Like, as nice as I thought I was back then, I was leap years ahead of that just 2 years later. I was just a raw cat that could run and jump. I'm looking at the tape, I'm watching, I'm going like, man, ooh, that's not good. And because I know how to score, I still finished with like 14 and 6. But my shooting efficiency wasn't high. I wasn't taking great shots. I wasn't defending that well. I think I might have grabbed 1 rebound the whole game. And so, as nice as I thought I was in the moment, I wasn't that nice. And so it was sobering to understand that there's going to be somebody that's better than you, and you have to find a way to catch them and earn what you think you deserve. Like, and nobody's going to give it to you. You have to earn what you think you deserve. And so I played with Elmer there. I played with Elmer and Steve in the Pro-Am, and I love those guys. Like, watching them play, like watching Elmer shoot, I was like, that dude shoots the ball. And then watching it again for that tape, I was like, yo, he was really shooting the ball. Like, not a ton, not all the quickness. Hey, crossover into the jump shot. Jab step into the jump shot. And he would just knock it down. Steve, he earned his nickname all day. All day. Steve, I tell people, Steve taught me my best lesson as a hooper. Better lessons than anybody else. Love Tony Hargrave. Steve taught me better lessons. And Steve didn't even have to say much. Very first lesson. Let me do this hand so you can see it. My very first lesson. We playing in the Pro-Am at the Gauchos.
Mm-hmm.
High flying, Derrick, Canada. All day, Steve Burke comes down, hits me to the pass. I take off. I'm pumping and clutching, pumping, showing off my hang time. Mr. Lamb. Young fella, I need you to make that lamb. All right, man. All right. Relax. Next time down, pumping and clutching. Mr. Lamb. My man, you got to make the layups. Dude, you don't think I'm trying to make layups? Okay. Next time down, Steve shoots a layup and makes it. Next time down, Steve shoots a layup and makes it. Next time down, Steve shoots a layup and makes it. 5 times after that, Steve shoots a layup and makes it. And he never had to say a word to me. I understood the lesson. It was
You won't
simple.
touch it. You won't touch it.
Yeah. The lesson is this. I'm only giving you the ball because I want you to have a chance. I don't have to give you the ball for us to score. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. I get it. Make the layups. Make the layups. Lesson number 2 was against United Brooklyn, I think. It was in the other Pro-Am, the Nike Pro-Am. Steve and I, I think I'm averaging 38. He's averaging like 32. So between us, we're averaging 60. Get to the end of the third quarter, and I look him off on a layup. Like, I get the steal, we neck and neck. My theory has always been, if you ain't ahead of me, I ain't giving it. And so I don't give it. But at the same time, I'm burning out because I'm at the end of the third, I had 35 at the end of the third because we were just going. So I look at him, I'm like, yo, Steve, I need you to take this last quarter, bring us home. And he was like, "Fool, you better finish this game." And I know what he was saying. He was like, "If you're going to look me off, if you're going to be big enough and bad enough to look me off and not give me that layup, you better have some sense and go ahead and finish this game." And so I finished it. I had a 20-point fourth quarter, finished with 55, which was the record at the time for the Nike Pro-Am, and we won the game. But I was like, I get it. I get it. But yeah, that's my guy. That's my guy.
Two great lessons to learn from one of New York City's best.
Oh, absolutely one of the best. We used to do a little crucible work. I call it crucible work. So NYU, me, him, and Gene would go to the gym at NYU. Inside the gym, they had a little tiny gym, like West 4th Street small, maybe a little bit smaller. We would play full court one-on-ones in that gym. Me, Gene, and Steve. And it was the best training ground I ever had because it's not big enough for you to do anything against Gene. Steve, if you don't show up, he's going to kill you. And you got to play at a high level the entire time. Otherwise, you're just always going to lose. And they don't have a problem with you losing.
Wow. What was it like playing for PrimeTime? And just give me some background of Coach James Ryan's style, right? Because he was like the Pat Riley, or I could say, not even say Pat Riley, I could say the guy who coached the Knicks. I mean, the Bulls, right?
Okay.
What's Phil Jackson?
Talking about
Phil Jackson. And I say Pat Riley as well because he has so many good players on one team and being able to manage all of those different personalities. What was that like?
For us, it was awesome. People were always jealous of the chemistry we had because everybody knew the job. Like, everybody knew the job. Like, there were times when I needed to score for us to win. I would score. If Ernest needed to score, he had a mismatch, oh, we going to Ernest. If Big Matt Tucker had the mismatch, oh, we going to Tuck. If Tony has the mismatch, oh, that's where we going. Because what we learned is that it's, even though people get caught up in it, it's a thinking man's game. Especially back then because you couldn't play zone defenses.
Nope.
And so we knew the rules better than most people, but we also knew each other better than most of the other teams. Like, I remember my boy Seth Marshall, the game I had 55, he was like, "Man, you did work, but I should have had about 50," which is a cool sentiment. But at the end of the day, that's not what his team needed, right? And so the fun thing about us as PrimeTime is as people joined us, they realized that, oh, it's a little different. Like, DC doesn't score 50 because he just want to score 50. If it's a moment for him to do it, he'll do it. But if somebody else has a mismatch, I got no problem getting off it. Because at the end of the day, I want to do what we can do to win. And that was one of the things that I think that was fun with James, because James didn't necessarily coach, but he was the bravado. He was the attitude. He was the, yeah, we showing up. What y'all going to do? We showed up. And so for us, we could play free because we knew the guy on the sideline was crazier than the rest of us.
That's right. That's right.
But I love that dude to this day. He's still just as crazy as he wants to be.
Still out there coaching, right?
But yeah, but he's crazy with a purpose.
Yes.
Like James knows. James is probably one of the smartest dudes you'll meet.
No, listen, I had Derrick Chivas up here, and he was talking about being coached by James. So we going way back.
Oh, that's my guy. So for us, I started with Alex, and then Alex and James actually came together. So I started with Bear Stearns. I think Tony was playing for PrimeTime at the time, and eventually we all came together.
Yeah,
so it wound up being like a kind of an Iona connection, which was really cool because they were all older than me. So I was the little brother bringing up the rear, but I could carry some weight for him. And so that's I still make jokes with Tony about that to this day. I'm like, Tony, you don't call nobody back. What? Because I can't score no buckets for you. You're not gonna call me back now? No, D. We know Tony don't call anybody back. It's all good. But yeah,
well, I'm glad he called me back because we got a chance to get him on the show, man. I'm gonna put up that episode soon. Was you there? Quite sure you was. The West 4th Championship with Earl Robinson and Elmer Anderson got to that. situation?
Yeah, but I was probably on the side, looking the other way. But yeah, that was the thing about the cage, right? There was always a little something. There's no space, and everybody can play, and nobody's backing down,
Look,
and
brother,
it gets ugly.
PrimeTime versus Homeboys. I remember
Yeah,
because I was on the Homeboys team,
I know.
and it was when you look back at it, and I'm saying to myself, the team that they had, Tony Hargrave, Arizona, Matt Tucker, Corey Williams,
Yeah,
Speedy, like
yeah,
you could go down the list. It was just like check, 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 check. All of these dudes had game. It was just like
absolutely.
so many hitters on one team.
Yeah, and the cool thing was James was smart in this. He always had us spread out, so you could always feed that monster if you needed to. There was always a moment for you where I need to get shots, and he'd be like, "All right, well, we got the team in Jersey, and we got the league uptown, we got the league here, we got the league over in Brooklyn. I'm gonna send you over there. I need you to go over here." And so he could keep us separate. And then when he needed to bring us together, we would all be together. But we all knew what the other person could do. And I really think we like to watch other people work. Like I loved playing with Doogie because I can always get a laugh. So I'm a basketball nerd, right? Absolute basketball nerd. Break everything down. So here's what I learned from playing. And Nike did it in their commercial. There is a rhythm to basketball.
Yes, yes.
There is absolutely a rhythm. And what made Doogie awesome is he understood there was a rhythm. So his jump shot would be boom, boom, jump. Boom, boom, jump. Boom, boom. And because you've been conditioned to boom, boom, jump, he could boom, boom with his back to the basket. And we would watch guys jump with two hands in the air as he just slowly sauntered around them and made a lap. and we're like, it doesn't make any sense, but we love watching it. Love watching Speedy when he hits with a crossover. I loved Corey because his game was, I always tell people, the thing that separates New York City point guards or separated New York City point guards from other places, as far as me as a defensive player, other places, they got two moves.
Right.
And if I can control your two moves, I can stay in front of you. New York point guards, minimum of 3.
That's the minimum. Right.
Minimum of 3. So they hit you with an inside out, cross, behind the back. And you're like, all right, I had the inside out and I had the cross, but where did behind the back come from? And that's what gets you off balance. And those were the things that, as a nerd, that I would see. And so you would love to watch it because you knew when things were coming. You knew when they were coming, and you'd be like, oh, here it comes. And we're on the bench laughing and joking. And it's not to be disrespectful to the other team, but we knew it was coming. And so that kind of camaraderie and just understanding that about each other was awesome. Like I'll joke with Speedy to this day about the Brevin Knight game, because Brevin was new in the pros, and Brevin's one of my guys. But Speedy tried to hit him with the crossover, and Brev sat down on it a couple times, and I was like, I think you're gonna have to use another move. But we would do stuff like that on the court because it wasn't overly serious. Like we wanted to win. We didn't want to lose. We probably spent more time talking after a win that we didn't like than we did after a loss. But we just didn't like to lose. And so all those things came into play when we played together. And so we always had good camaraderie. We always had folks that we could get along, we could get out there and do things. Like one of our national championships, I was probably the best player in the tournament. But my man Ernest Alburns got the MVP.
Yeah, Ernest, he was the problem. Yeah.
And what I did was, just like everybody else, Ernest got the mismatch. We throw the ball to Ernest. Feed him. Until they stop Ernest, that's what we're gonna stay. And that's what kept us moving and going along. I would laugh with Matt all the time because, Matt would get a little crazy and he'd be all upset.
I've
And
been
I'd be like,
playing
"Listen."
against Matt since high school. It's so crazy.
Oh,
yes.
my first Empire State games, I was scared to death of Matt. Scared to death. Was up at the dome, at the field house at Syracuse.
Yep, Carrier Dome. Yep.
No, it wasn't. It was at the field house.
The field house. Got you.
And so there's this guy. He's in the gym, and we're in the gym, and we're waiting, and he looks like the Incredible Hulk, and he catches the ball into the basket, and he starts pump faking and yelling, and he goes up and dunks the ball, and I'm like, who is that? Crazy. But I used to tell Matt all the time, my man, don't get fouled if you can't make free throws.
That's right.
Like, make the shot. And so, that's my guy. And we would have those kind of conversations. Like, if you're not going to make free throws, you need to get a ball up. Or you need to make the basket. Don't play to get fouled if you're not going to make free throws. And so we none of us had thin skin. We all could talk to each other. We all knew that the bottom line interest was for us to win.
Well,
if
listen,
we win, we do well.
The female version of PrimeTime was killing New York City this summer. Salute to Coach Munch and his No Limit team. They won 9 championships this summer. Ooh. 14 in the last 2 years.
Wow.
They won every tournament. And they even had 2 championships in one day, split up the team and won them both.
Yeah, see, that's what it's about. That's what it's about. It's so basketball is our brotherhood.
Yep.
And we don't always remember that. Like we spend so much time competing for those so few spots that sometimes we forget that basketball is our brotherhood. We got brothers all over. I was one of my guys that coaches out here. He did the numbers, and I was like, man, it's amazing how lucky you are, how lucky and fortunate you have to be a Division I athlete.
Yep.
He broke the numbers down. He was like, all right, here's what I got off the internet. It's 575,000 high school basketball players, boys. That funnels down to about 16,000 total spots for college athletes basketball. 16,000, which funnels down to about 340 NBA spots.
Yep.
That's the math. And like, if you can't do the math, you wind up like these kids getting these fake offers, not understanding that the math is real simple. Like, yeah, you can walk on, but guess what? If you walk on, there's no investment in you.
No guarantees.
And, if you're fine with that, cool. But if there's some place that wants you, go to the place that wants you. I don't care if it's small. If they want you, there's a good chance you're going to play. As a walk-on, you'll be like the cats in the gym now that talk about college politics. Oh, yeah, there was just politics. No, you weren't good enough to make the team. Like, there are very few people who can say, I was good enough to make the team, and I just got caught up in the politics and couldn't make it. Like, cats would tell me, oh, I didn't play in high school because my coach didn't like me. Okay, could you put the ball in the basket? Because that's what most high school coaches are looking for. Like, if you can play, they'll play you. You got to do something really bad as a great player, a good player, for a coach to say, I just don't like you and I'm not going to play you. Happens on occasion, but I don't think that happens a ton. Because as a coach, if you can help my team win, unless you're a really bad kid, if you're a really bad kid, I'm not going to have you on my team. If you just somebody that thinks I don't like you, then, as a coach, I should be fired. Because if you can help me, I should at least be looking for you. Because the bottom line is, as coaches, our job is supposed to be to help young men transition into from boyhood to young men into adulthood. Because most of us not playing in the league,
and not brave enough to say, you know what, I wasn't good enough to play in the NBA.
Dude, I tell people that all the time. I'm like, yeah, I got to go to camp with Orlando. Oh, you got cut? What happened? I wasn't good enough. What do you mean you weren't good enough? Oh, well, let me see. Penny Hardaway, Nick Anderson, Dennis Scott, Horace Grant, Shaquille O'Neal. I don't fit that.
Facts.
I tell
Just
people,
gotta keep it real.
yeah, I gave Kenny Smith the business, one pro-am game. They just happened to win the NBA title that same year. But I gave him work. I still remember the one time I was shooting the ball. He was like, "Who are you?" And as I let it go, I was like, "It doesn't matter." People were like, "Oh, you better than Kenny Smith?" No. That day, in that setting, which is my setting, I'm better than Kenny Smith. You put me in an NBA game and tell me I got to throw the ball to Olajuwon 15 to 20 times, and
wait for it if it comes
back,
right.
I got to make 3 of the 5 shots I'm going to get the whole game.
That's right.
Nah, I can't do that. Kenny can do that and still understand that he's a great basketball player. And that's the difference between our NBA guys and our guys on the street. Yeah, I can show up and I can give you work. But in that setting, like, I want to be Michael Jordan. No.
If I dream that he is me, like Mike,
right?
If I could be like Mike.
Like, they're not coming to see me.
Right.
I'm not packing them in. There's no NBC highlight reel about Derrick Canada and whatever team. Nah, I'm just another dude that wants to play basketball. And if you're not disciplined enough to do it that way, then no, just be honest.
That's right.
Like, I could hoop, but I can't hoop like that. I want to be the guy that, affects the game.
So you started to do it when you got off the court and, you left the playing behind and you became a coach. How did you get to Hunter College and let's speed it up to where you're at now to this present day in North Plainfield?
So Mike Brown, coached at Seton Hall, good friends with Alex Middleton, who, again, Iona guy, pretty close to me. He was starting to do some stuff at Hunter, and he asked me if I wanted to be on the staff. I was like, absolutely, because at the end of the day, it's about giving back, right?
That's right.
I'm 27, 28. Guess what? For those that are listening, at 28, the dream is over.
Tell them.
It's over. Like, there's not very many 28-year-old rookies in the league. So unless you've got something special going on, it's time to think about what your next step is. And so my degree, I got my Bachelor of Science in Finance. So I could do something on that side, but I really wanted to be able to affect young men as it related to the game of basketball. And so I started that with him, learned a ton from him, was able to learn how to motivate young men to do some things that they might not have thought they were able to do before. That's kind of like a new thing for me. It was like, man, I can't get it for myself, but I can get it for them. And if I can get it for them, I want to do that. So I did that with him. I coached for a second out in Wisconsin. Came back here, connected with my old high school coach as a volunteer. So I was in Wisconsin for 10 years, 12 years, 13 actually. Came back out here, connected with my old high school coach as a volunteer. Laughed and joked with him about that. He left and retired, and his assistant kept me on as an assistant. I told that assistant that said the only way I'm leaving is if I get the job at my old high school, which is now Campus High School in East Orange, or I get the job in the local, the town where I'm living. The town where I'm living, they decided they were going to release their coach, and so 4 years ago I took the coaching job here. And it's been a bit of a struggle because people say kids aren't different. The kids are different. Like, my kids are different. I make the joke, the kids are different today. You know why kids are different today? Because we got magic refrigerators. You know how the refrigerator is magic? Kids can open it up, it can be full, and they'll say, there's nothing to eat. That's magical. When I was a kid, I opened the refrigerator, there would be nothing in there, and I could find something to eat. And so that's the level that that you're working with now with kids is that because we as young adults said we never want to bring our kids up the same way we were brought up. We want our kids to have more. Well, we gave them more, but they don't have the struggle. They don't have the resilience. They don't have the fight that we had because we don't make them fight.
Yo, D, kids have everything adults have except responsibility.
Say that.
Let's just think, right? You go in a kid room, you got just as many pairs of sneakers as you. You got the flat screen television. They got the game system. Everything they have everything. They got the phone. Buy a better phone than you, right?
They teach you how to use your technology.
Everything except the responsibility.
And that's what it is. So for me, dealing with our kids today and trying to get them to understand that these are the things that allow you to be successful. Like I had my first year, I had a kid who, no show, no call, missed a practice. My rule is simple. If you do not show up to practice and you do not let me know the reason that you are not showing up to practice, you don't play.
That's right.
So he missed a Monday practice. He missed a Saturday practice. He shows up at Monday. He doesn't offer coach any explanation. Coach, this is what happened, this and this, and then, I have whatever. No explanation. The next day, he thinks he's playing. He literally, every time I look down the bench, is jumping off the bench, and I'm like, dude, sit back. I'm not calling you. His people left mad. But the bottom line is this. I'm not here to make you happy. I'm here to make you better. And so when I got him downstairs, I was like, so you mad? Well, yeah, coach. I said, why are you mad? Well, you ain't play me. I said, let me ask you a question. If you no call, no show on your job, what happens? Oh, well, they might fire me. Ain't no might. You're going to get fired. And so if you can't learn that lesson right now, when it's not going to hurt you, you're going to have a problem. Because that's the lesson. The lesson is responsibility. Like, I was laughing with I was interviewing somebody for my freshman coaching job, and he was like, well, how do you deal with the parents? I don't.
Tell them.
I deal with the young men.
That's
if the
right.
parents need something, I say you need to ask your young man, because your young man needs to be responsible enough to give you the information that I've already given him. Like, I don't want to, I'm not trying to do that part.
Sometimes the parents are too much involved. Listen, sometimes young men get upset because their parents at all the games, right? And I say, listen, the difference between now and when we was playing, our parents didn't come to the game, right? No. Said, be happy that your parents come to the game. But then we have the situation with the fake office. Because everybody trying to please the parents, and now the parents are way more involved than they need to be.
Yeah, and those are for kids that are probably at the cusp. My kids, they're not great. They're good kids, but none of them loves basketball like that. Like when I do my parent meeting, I tell all the parents, I said, don't come to talk to me about playing time until you ask your kid 2 questions. 2 questions are, how are your grades? First of all, because you're a student athlete first.
Yeah.
And the second question is the simple one. And I make a joke when I say it. Second question is, do you love it? Right? Do you love it? And then I'll say, who in here is married? Hands will go up. Do you like her or him or her, or do you love them? And if you like them, would you still be with them? And they all chuckle, and I'm like, that's my point. Like, why are you worried about your son's playing time if your son doesn't even love what they're doing? Like, if they love it, it's going to show. If they kind of like it, it's going to show. If they're playing just because you want them to play, it's going to show. And those are the things that I try to bring out for our parents, because I'm like, I had the guy tell me, he was like, oh, this, that, and the other thing, I'll take my son out of here. I respect that. But where's your son going to go when they leave? Because I'm offering them an opportunity to get better to learn the game, and to potentially be able to play, be on the floor as a junior and a senior. Like, he's not getting offers. Oh, I'm trying to get my son a scholarship. Here, let me tell you something. You cannot get your son a scholarship. Only your son can get themselves a scholarship.
Thank you.
That's just how it works.
Right.
I got a great assistant coach, guy named Jeff Robinson. So Jeff is at the opposite spectrum of me. I'm the guy with one offer, caught a nice break. Somebody walked in the gym. Jeff, McDonald's All-American. This past he was one of the top teams in the nation. Went to Memphis, played in the national championship game with Derrick Rose before moving on to play at Seton Hall. Like, McDonald's All-American game, all that. And so you're telling me that you've got coaches at the opposite ends of those spectrum, and we don't know anything about this game?
That's right.
Like, we don't know how it works. We don't know what your kids do and what they can do and what they can't do. Like, I just want the kids to get better. I tell the kids all the time, it's really not about me winning or losing. Like, I would love to win, but at the end of the day, my high school teammates, we're still close to this day because of the way we played together. Like, most of us love our coach, but at the end of the day, we really love each other.
That's
because we played together. We got stories, we got common battles that we've had to fight, and we came out on top of in a lot of them. And that's what our kids they wind up missing is, we push them to do the things that we want them to do, and they never really develop, and they don't dream. Like you mentioned dreams early on. So I'm a churchy guy too, so I did a sermon at church, and it was just about the fact that our kids don't dream. Like, I had a dream. My dream started with being John Jefferson of the San Diego Chargers. I used to wear the number 83. It morphed into being Michael Jordan, and then became something. But I always had a dream. Like, if we talk to our kids now and you say, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? I don't know. Like, what do you mean you don't know? Is there nothing that you want to do? I don't know. What do you like to do? I don't know. What have you ever wanted to do? I don't know. Because
they have so many things that's offered to them. When you have all of these choices, that it's like, you know what? I don't know what I want to do today. I'll pick this today, pick this tomorrow. Yeah. But I don't know if I really like that thing.
Yeah, but I mean, we had choices too.
But it came from here, though.
Yeah,
it came from here. The dreaming part.
Yeah, but even when we started, like, I still remember in third grade, what are you gonna be when you grow up? I'm gonna be a football player, a basketball player, and a doctor. Well, how are you going to do all three of those things? I ain't worried about that. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I want to do.
Right.
And those are the things that, I impress upon the young men that I coach. It's like, it's cool to dream. Like, if you're willing to put in the work, it's cool to dream. Like, you can tell me that your dream is an NBA dream, right? And I can poo-poo on your dream all I want. Oh, it's not going to happen for you. You're not good enough. But at the end of the day, if you tell yourself you're good enough and you put in all the work and you put in enough work, you might actually have a chance to make your dream come true.
Very true. Have a better chance of becoming a doctor than an NBA player anyway.
Yeah.
So,
dude, I played the Powerball the other day. I was like, league Powerball. Let's go Powerball.
So many people had to come back to work the next day after that, right? It's crazy.
But those are the things that, we've always been told, that you have a better chance of winning the lottery than making it to the NBA.
Man.
And that's real.
If you could change anything about your basketball journey, what would it be?
That's a tough one because I've really enjoyed my journey. And looking at my journey, everything's kind of lined up the way I would like it to. I would have loved to have been 6'6". That's what I would change. 6'6" changes everything for me.
Got you.
6'1", 2 guards. Yeah, they're a dime a dozen.
Well, the physical attributes we don't have control over, right?
No,
you know what I'm saying? But just about the things that we can control throughout the basketball journey.
That the fun thing for me is this, and I harken back to the story about my last game.
Mm-hmm.
I put in everything, and I believe I got everything out of it. Like I don't have a ton of regrets. I would have loved to have played in the NBA for a hot second, but I got a look. So I got to go to camp with Orlando, and I realized it's more about the business than it is about the playing. And so, yeah, I'll tell people I wasn't good enough, but at the end of the day, I don't know if I would have had half the fun that I have now. Would I have had more money? Absolutely. But would I have really enjoyed that aspect of my basketball career like I enjoyed it doing what I did? That'd be hard to say. Could I parlay it into something else? Could I have been a Kenny Smith? Maybe not. I might have just been a dude that played a year and then didn't have anything left. And it happens to so many. So I don't have a ton of regrets as it relates to my basketball career. I would have things that I couldn't change. I would have loved to see my dad play. Because my uncle always floats the story about him and Dr. J playing against each other. Because Doc went to Roosevelt.
That's right.
And Pop went to Wyandanch, and they're right around that same age group.
Wow, man. Listen, I had Kenny Anderson on here. He talked about the best time of his basketball career. He played like 18 years in the NBA. A lot of people don't realize that, right?
Yeah.
He said his best time was in high school and college, right? It was free, wasn't about the business. A lot of times that can get in the way of the fun and kind of, detour you, or who knows, scandal, something can happen because you're not focused on the fun anymore.
Just going back to the Kyrie situation. Like you and I, we can post what we want on a social media platform and have very few repercussions. We might wind up in one of the jails for that platform.
Right.
For a day.
Right.
But to be scrutinized to that level where like you can't go out because you don't know who to trust. You can't post anything because somebody's going to be offended by it. Those are all things that, take away from your experience as an athlete. Like that's a lot to give up. I mean, it's a lot of money, but that's a lot to give up. To show up at a park and know that everybody is gunning for you. And your contract states that you can't get hurt while doing this. Otherwise, we're going to avoid you.
Such a tough life, man. It's like, the wealth for your freedom right? The wealth for your freedom to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And Skip Bailiff and Shannon Sharp was talking about the pro football player who forgot his name, but he made a comment about the Kyrie situation, and he was signed with Kyrie, and Skip Bailiff said since he doesn't play pro football no more, he's free to have a voice.
Yeah,
isn't that crazy?
Yeah, because there's no major repercussion to the brand, right? For like the NFL guys always talk about the shield. For NBA guys, it's the logo, right? MLB guys, they have everybody has something that you have to protect. It's not about protecting you. It's about protecting that shield or that logo. Like our guy from the Raiders last year who had, and it was a bad thing, but he got caught out there, right? Driving too fast, gun in the car, somebody gets mortally wounded, and you haven't heard about him since. Raiders cut him. He can be in jail wherever he is. He was our investment. He is not our investment anymore. See you when I see you.
Or you could be Brett Favre, still have your Nike contract and not be scrutinized.
Yeah, stealing folks' money.
This is why my logo is the color of the logo, right? My logo is what it is. Man, listen, I want to get into the top five.
I'm
One
ready.
of the hardest part of the show, man. Listen, I don't call these interviews, man. I call them conversations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm not one of these guys who be like, we have a time limit. No, it's these conversations for God to tell their story, because there's been a lot of time when I've done research on guys and put certain things up, and guys with me back and be like, yo, Pooh, where you get that from? That's wrong. Yo, Pooh, now that information is wrong. Where'd you get that from? Those numbers are accurate. Yo, check here, right? The stat line that'll tell you the accuracy of where you get that article from. And I'm saying to myself, wow, this is why it's so important for God to tell their story, tell their own story.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I've been in education for a long time. I used to teach history. And one of the greatest lessons I was told by an elder of mine is we have to start telling our own story, because people used to tell our stories for us.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
And from the African tradition of oral stories, why not have, you know, our basketball brothers and sisters come up here and tell their own story.
I agree. And you know, we complain about the pandemic all the time, but this is giving us a lot of voices. Like, I'm not talking about your guests. I'm talking about you guys that have put together these events and shows, because it gives a lot of voice to the things that were done. Now, when I first show your show, I'm not gonna front, I got an ego. I felt the kind of way. I was like, he ain't gonna call me because I ain't from New York. He ain't gonna call me because I ain't from New York.
Yo, D, you have no idea. And this is, look, I'm gonna tell you right now, I never gave that speech about the once a month, right? Because I'm gonna start expanding it just a little bit. Want to keep it New York based, but I want to give those people, you know, who hit me up, or a lot of people hit me up like, yo, I would love to get on your platform. And I'm like, yo, bro, it's really a nomination. If I don't reach out to you, you got to be nominated by someone. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
I was just explaining to my guy Kendrick, another D1 player from Connecticut, and who has a great program, great training services that he provide. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna bring him on, but I'm also gonna bring my teammate Charlie Roberts, that lives in New Jersey, right?
Okay.
On and share the platform with others, and hopefully, man, I could branch this thing out like McDonald's, and man, and have it in each city and state, and working like that. Because, you know, even though there's guys who I know, All Ball, my guy A Game podcast, Are We Live, and All Things Hoops, guys who have basketball shows who interview guys from all over the country. So I just felt like, I just saw no one was doing the New York City stories.
Right.
New York City is the Mecca. Couldn't believe it. No one was just doing strictly New York stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know what? I like to be in my own lane, so why not?
Yeah, you've been doing your thing, man. You've been doing your thing.
Thank you, brother.
I don't get on the ton, but I'm always trying to peek in. I'm like, who's he got on this week? I saw a little bit of the Mario Ellie. I was like, oh, because I played with Mario.
Yes.
It was a long time ago, but I played with him. That was my other funny story is Chris Mullin Dream Team Summer. I didn't get to play because his brother Terrence needed my uniform.
Ooh.
I was like, oh, Terrence? But it was one of the best performances I ever saw in the Pro-Am. And this was Dream Team Summer, so he was just coming back from the mini camp.
Right.
He came in, I swear, I don't have the numbers on it, but it seemed like he missed his first three, he missed his last three, and hit like 14 in between. And that was it. Jab step threes, crossover threes, step back threes. I was like, that's for real.
Wow.
But yeah, I didn't get to play that game because Terrence needed my uniform.
It's all good, brother.
He wasn't going to play unless Terrence played. I took one for the team.
Smart man, right? Smart man. Sometimes you got to sacrifice, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So let's get into this top five. Top five. Who are the top five players you played against?
All right. So, and you know, because I watched the show, I had already prepared for this. so I wasn't going to be stumped.
Told you guys out there, take notes. Watch the show.
So I got to play against Lloyd. So
that's Lloyd Sweet Pea Daniels.
Lloyd Sweet Pea Daniels.
Facts, my brother. Yep.
Yeah. Steve Burt.
Oh.
All day, right? Kevin Williams. Baddest man, one of the baddest. I asked Kev once, I was like, Kev, how you do that? Great score.
Yeah.
He's like, I shoot the shots. I can make 50% of the time, 80% of the time. And I was like, yo, that math is crazy.
He's pissed at me right now. He's very, very pissed at me right now.
Not the right guy to be mad at you.
My story that I told about him and Sam Worthing that I saw as a kid in 1985. And I tell people this, right? Because when I had Kenny on the show, had Ross Strickland on the show, there were people that would be in the chat that would be reminding them of stories.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be like, it's kind of vague. Because when you in it, it's kind of remember everything that happens. But the people that are watching that's on the sidelines, come on, D. They know. You know how many guys that walked up to you and tell you, yo, basic instincts. My guy Cook Slow. That's the first thing he says. So you got basic instinct on the show. I didn't even know that was your name. I was like, yo. He's like, yo, I've seen him do and cut so many guys up. And a lot of times guys would tell me things that I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, all the time.
And so instead of him, I told him to come on the show. No, I'm going to have dinner with Sam and don't bleed to do it. And I had to block him because he was just leaving all kind of disrespectful stuff in the chat.
No, and I believe it because one of the things that set Kev apart and that pairs him with Steve is that's how they are. Like that's the fuel that drives them. Their anger. That's why they were great players.
That's why my guy my guy, told me this. My guy, Coach Brunson, he coaches out in Jersey at Brookville College, right? Girls. And he was just saying, yeah, that's Kev. But I'm just saying, I'm such a laid back dude. All that dudes be like, yo, Pooh, come on the show. We could talk about it.
Yeah.
So I invited him on the show. And, he didn't respond. He just want to say a lot of negative things. And I'm not into the negativity. That's not my vibration.
No need to be.
Nah, that's not my vibration.
Look, when it's time, it'll be time.
That's right. Hey, Kev, you see this? The offer still stands, brother. Just holler at me and we can make it happen. So you got two more.
All right. So I'm going with Strick.
Ross Strickland. Ross Strickland or John Strickland?
This is John Strickland.
John Strickland. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Out of all the New York City legends I got to play against, I never played against Rod.
Gotcha.
But I love Strick. His game was always fun. I love that he was so confident.
Yes. Rest in peace too, brother. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And he was interested in winning. And then my last guy is Term.
Terminator, yes.
Ron Mathias. Yeah,
who's supposed to came on the show last year. So Term, let's make it happen.
Term is he was all of those cats for me were different in the era that we played in. Strick was my only real contemporary. He was actually a couple of years younger than me. The rest of them were a little bit older, but I look at all of them like big brothers and folks that I learned from. So anybody I didn't name that feels some type of way about it, it's all good. Just call me. Nothing but love.
All right. Top 5 players you played with.
Oh, so again, Steve Burt. I give Elmer some love. I give Speedy love. I gotta give Tone Hargraves love. And then my last spot. I got a few for the last spot.
You only can name one. This is not top 6 or 7.
You're killing me right now, Pooh. You're killing me right now.
That's why it's called top 5. Everyone always say, yo, Pooh, stop with this top 5. It's too many. That's why it's called top 5. So you got to pick one.
Can I give
you
you
got one more. You got one more.
The Iona crew, right? Yeah,
you got one more.
Sean Green.
Perfect.
Love that dude.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Sean still got to come on the show. We were supposed to have a date, but then something came up on his schedule. But he definitely will be on soon.
Okay, he has a podcast too with his son.
Yes.
I gotta check them out a little bit more often too.
For sure. Yep. All right. Last one. Even though everybody knows you're a New Jersey guy, I need you to tell everyone who are the top 5 players in New York City history from your perspective.
All right. Let's see. I'm gonna take 3 of the guys that's on the list that was on that first top 50 list. I'm gonna go Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I'm gonna go Lenny Wilkins, and I'm gonna go Tiny. They top 50. They got to be on the list.
Tiny Archibald for sure.
The 4th one, of course, is Dr. J. He got to be on the list.
Facts.
And then my guy to watch. It's probably Chris Mullin. I love watching him shoot.
Smart choice. One of the smartest basketball players and greatest shooters in New York City history.
Yeah, wasn't fast, didn't jump high, didn't do anything stellar, but was a great basketball player. So,
and that's why Mario Elie wears 17.
I didn't know that.
Yep, he was his high school teammate, and then when Chris moved to the variant, Mario became the guy, and then, he went to American International Player of the Year, and then tried out for the NBA and realized he wasn't ready, and then went overseas, came back, worked out with Chris Mullin. Chris Mullin taught him what he needed to do to make a pro team and also stay. So he said he honored Chris Mullin by wearing 17. Yep.
That's big. That's awesome. That's an awesome story right there. I mean, we need more of that, especially for, the New York brothers.
Definitely, man. Hey, listen, man, I want to thank you for coming on. First of all, I want to thank your wife, because I don't know how many guys who came on here and their wife helped them manage to get on this show, right? Through the technology part, making sure they're straight and comfortable. So I want to say salute to your wife.
Appreciate that, bro.
Definitely, bro. And salute to you, bro. Salute to you. Like I told you in the beginning, man, it was good to see you. Had to bring you on, and knowing you was born in New York, but moved across the water to Jersey, but you made your bones in New York, in the universities and on the playgrounds. It was definitely a pleasure to bring you on and have this conversation with you, and let you know, man, you're one of the best players that ever put it down in New York City playgrounds, man, and New York City as a whole. So thank you, brother, for being genuine and being one of our greats, man, because we adopted you, brother.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. And and coming in hot meant that I was running into the house, straight out the car to jump on with you.
I'm like, yo, what the fuck? I want to go pause. But
when you sent it back, I was like, he missed the word.
Right.
Today's the 11th. Took the family to see the Panther. Mom don't drive at night, so I'm shooting back.
How was it?
I thought it was good. It wasn't the first one, right? The first one was.
Was it a money grab, or is worth to go see? Be honest.
I thought the storylines were good. The subliminal messaging behind how stuff gets done, I thought were good. And I appreciated the fact that the brown people are still the heroes and the main focus of the story.
I'm glad you talk about the subliminal message, because I watch movies with my third eye. I don't go to be entertained, because they don't make these $1 million movies for us to be entertained. There's always a story behind the story that's being shown.
Absolutely. So it was. I mean, the excitement level of the first one wasn't there, but the storylines and dealing with certain things, as it relates to who we are as people, I thought that was good stuff.
That's dope.
I thought that was good. It was definitely worth seeing. And I would see it again.
Okay. Well, now I'm gonna have to go check it out, brother, for sure.
Yeah, do that. Not a bad one.
Yes.
Plus, we got heavy representation in that. So.
For sure. Hey, listen, those people that's on here, I'm glad you came through to watch the show. I appreciate you. If you ain't have already done so, make sure you go subscribe. We got some of the greatest stories in New York City history and a lot of great content. So, yo, D, man, thank you, man, brother. Appreciate you.
Peace, bro. Appreciate you too, man. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm loving it. I can't wait to see what the next iteration looks like because I see you growing.
Yes. We plan to do big things in the future, man. Just gotta keep pushing this culture forward. That's it.
Absolutely. Just keep leading the way. Keep doing what you do, bro. And I'm supporting.
All right. Mahalo at you.
All right. Peace.
Peace. Man, what an awesome conversation, man. Right? See, when we talk about some of the New York City greats, a lot of times we got to pick from the people that come from the 5 boroughs, Long Island, and upstate. Just to find out, my guy was born in Long Island. He moved to New Jersey, but something kept bringing him back. See, when you want to play against the best, you got to be where the best is at. And I'm going to say it, New York City, still a mecca of New York City basketball. But in the 90s, man, some of the best competition was out there. And my brother D was out here facing the best, became one of the best. As a matter of fact, when people was talking about DC and Basic Instinct, man, people on the streets knew when they saw this guy play, he was going to bring everything, offense and defense. So he earned his way on the show and to tell his story. So make sure that you realize that Derrick Canada, one of the best players in New Jersey and one of the best players in New York City. 2 states, baby. Well, we're about to get out of here. Like I said, I'm your host, Glenn Pooh Harding, and you've been watching Basketball Heads Live, the podcast on NYC Basketball Network. We are the official home for New York City basketball. Peace.